for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Coastal New England has a charm and history all of its own. The small cities built hundreds and hundreds of years ago where the foundations of our country were built. The beautiful charm of those cities give way to beautiful sights like lighthouses off the coast of New England. And we are here for live qualifying coverage in this region of the country for the NHRA New England Nationals at New England Dragway in Epping, New Hampshire. Fittingly in this area where the country was founded so specifically, this drag strip was really the most major drag racing plant in the region and has been since 1966 to foster the growth and support of the sport of drag racing. Welcome everybody to our live qualifying coverage here. First live qualifying coverage of the season. Brian Loans, Tony Pedregon, and we are back in my favorite place in the world.
And better weather this year
Yes.
than it was freezing last year. But what makes this place so special and what's going to make the conditions and the qualifying so special tonight is the area. It starts with the night session. The sun's going to be off the track. The grip is going to increase. But we're here in New England, and we're close to sea level. So the atmospheric conditions are right. They're very conducive to what the crew chiefs want. Nearly perfect conditions. But what everybody's shooting for is that magic 340-mile-per-hour mark. The top fuel dragsters want to get there first. The funny cars get there first. Tonight, the funny cars are on the track, and there's one driver in particular that is knocking on the door, and he guaranteed us that they are going to do it, and it seems like the conditions are right for them to achieve that milestone tonight.
We will find out, and that driver's name is Bob Tasca, but we have to talk about another funny car driver to get us off the blocks tonight, and his name's Matt Hagan, and the reason we have to talk about him, he has won back-to-back races on tour in 4 of the last 5 NHRA New England Nationals.
Well, Matt Hagan is a multi-time champion. He comes to the table with so much experience and that pedigree and the consistency, the high level, the intensity. He has a good team with continuity, with chemistry, and they left him hang around a little bit too long, and he figured it out by the late rounds, especially in the final.
We can talk about Hagan's heroics, what this guy has done and what he continues to do for the last 5 wins here at New England Dragway, seeking his 3rd consecutive win on the tour, Charlotte and Chicago being the last 2. He is the current funny car points leader, and oh yes, the reigning and 4-time NHRA funny car champion is with Bruno Masso.
Few people can rock the Fu Manchu quite like my boy Matt Hagan here and make it look good, you know what I mean? But there's a significance behind that mustache that the funny car competitors this weekend are not going to like, and that is because when you wear this, you win here in Epping.
I guess it's a little superstitious, right? You know, obviously we rocked it like 4 years in a row, and then, you know, we won 4 times and then didn't rock it and didn't win last year, so everybody said you got to grow it back. So it's just got a lot more gray in it. I don't understand why, you know?
Well, you got the Fu Manchu back on this weekend. You got a car that's running good. What's going to take to get the job done here this weekend?
Well, it's going to be fast. It's going to be quick out there. Obviously, a good surface to race on. Dickie Venables. It's his time of weather, a little cloud cover. I think we just kind of put my mouthpiece in and hang on. So go have some fun out there.
Antron Brown is coming into this race with some wind in his sails after taking a victory for himself in Chicago in very different conditions than we'll see this weekend.
But when you talk about Antron Brown, he is always a top 3 driver. You can always count on him on the starting line. He need only a good car, but they are the picture of consistency. The track had its challenges, presented its challenges. It was a little temperature, and that's where this team seems to shine.
The win in Chicago represented the 75th national event win for Antron, and it was the 59th he picked up behind the tiller of a top fuel dragster. It placed him in the most elite company in NHRA drag racing history. With Ron Capps, Bob Glidden, Schumacher, Johnson, Anderson, and Force, he is now part of the 75 win club, and he's with Jordan Vandergriff.
Antron Brown made history in Chicago, becoming the 7th driver to have 75 wins. Now, Antron, we are here in Epping. What's it going to take to make it 76?
It's going to take some more of that hard work, but this track here is going to be a little bit more cooler conditions, so got to get after it a little harder, and we got the team to do it. But this competition right here, out here, is going to be no joke this weekend, but we're looking forward to the challenge, and hopefully we can use that momentum to catapult to get us to the right spot this weekend.
The Pro Stock Weekend storyline, let's just call it multifaceted. We'll start with this guy, Dallas Glenn, who got the job done for himself in Chicago, Illinois. He won for the 10th time in his career. He is the points leader in the category. And Tony, he is the type of guy that we've seen do this before in the regular season, but he has to prove it to us at the end of the year.
Well, and Dallas has already been in the winner's circle. He is consistently in the top, and he took on really his teammate and one of the best cars this year, Greg Anderson. And once he got to that final round, it didn't seem like there was any stopping Dallas Glenn.
We can see that Glenn leads in round victories this season, 16, even topping his teammate Greg Anderson, 5 more than Erica Enders. We could go down the list. His wins coming in Pomona, of course, which he won in Phoenix after the hailstorm, and in Chicago, Illinois. Erica Enders, when we talk about Illinois, we might be talking about Illinois. To Erica Enders, maybe just that. She's not in a position that she wants to be in. And Tony, frankly, we have seen a backslide in performance of this car over the last 3 to 4 races.
Well, they came out strong, winning the first race of the year. We thought she was going to continue that trend. We do see her continue to pull out that big run to earn her that #1 position, but not the picture of consistency, not in the winner's circle like we expected.
We have been intimating over the last several races about rising tensions between the KB Titan team and the Elite Motorsports team. These are the 2 major players in Pro Stock. They both field more than a half a dozen cars. Well, what we were telling you was happening behind the scenes began to bubble over on social media following the Chicago race. And it wasn't just a couple of friendly jabs. It got ugly.
Well, and it wouldn't be the first time that this team has exchanged words, and it got physical years and years ago in Houston. No, look, we do not condone that. But on the track, this is a business. The business is racing, and things happen behind the scenes in meetings. And look, if there's a bully on the block, somebody needs to show that bully that this is not the time and the place to boss people around.
The uncivil war between KB Titan and Elite Motorsports. We can look at the basic facts here. 2002 founded as initially as KB Racing with Ken Black. It is sense of all. We can see the ownership groups. We can see the final or last championships of the teams and the 2024 win total. But what we can't show you on this graphic are things like social media posts that have punching bags on them and other team names tagged, and some personal insults being heaved at the ownership of said teams.
There's no question the innuendos are there. We'd like to see it settled on the track, but that's one of the stories that is going down this weekend. You never know what's around the corner.
The pot was simmering, the pot is boiling, and we may have the valve closed on the lid. When we come back, we will continue our live qualifying coverage here for the NHRA New England Nationals. Tony Stewart is wearing the Renai tankless water heaters colors this weekend. He'll be trying to vie for his best position in Top Fuel Eliminator. When we come back, New England Dragway will be the hub of the drag racing universe.
I just want to feed this bod wild-caught salmon like it deserves.
Join the club.
Yeah, join the club and save on fresh, sustainably sourced seafood.
I work out a lot, so that's helpful.
Cool. Download the Sam's Club app today. Sam's Club.
You have an excellent warranty.
Warranty?
No, warranty.
Okay, gotta go.
You must have American Home Shield.
How'd you know?
I can tell your appliances and home systems are protected. Covered repairs and replacements are taken care of. Warranty never lies. Half off cookie dough. American Home Shield. Don't worry, be warranty.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can it keep me warm when I'm cold?
Wait, no, I'm always hot.
Sleep Number does that. Save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, plus 0% interest for 48 months when you add an adjustable base. Shop now at sleepnumber.com.
Get ready to race down the track with Mission Foods. It's a green light for the NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing Series, packed with fast action and tasty products. Fully loaded tacos, fast wraps, piled high nachos. Whatever you crave, Mission will help you be race ready with easy to make recipes that will take your race day to the finish line. Keep your racing delicious and enjoy all the mouth-watering action. Brought to you by Mission Foods. Too fast, too tasty.
All right, I'm going to change your world. That's going to be interesting. Let's go. I love to root for great. Yeah. I want to watch history. Ooh. You want to root for the underdog. Good luck with that. In sports, people hate what they fear. They hate the Cowboys. They hate LeBron. I've got a lot of haters.
Truth hurts sometimes.
I'm controversial when I don't even mean to be. It doesn't matter how many times I'm right. You'll still argue with me. This is the
NHRA New England Nationals is sponsored by Mission Foods. Now that's too fast, too tasty. And by Camping World, America's recreation dealer. Our live coverage continues here at New England Dragway. Before we start sending cars down in this second qualifying session, we have to get you caught up about what happened in the first qualifying session, Tony. In the Nitro Funny Car ranks, we saw Blake Alexander, the Toronto Auto Service Center and head contractor's colors, lined up next to Chad Green on the right-hand side in the Bond Code Mustang. Chad Green's team is down 3 guys today because of weather delays in their flights coming out of Dallas, Texas.
And coming up into this session, the target changed for a lot of tuners. You could see some of the cloud cover rolled in. It cooled, it knocked the edge off the track, it increased the grip, and some of the cars really got more aggressive. And you can see for Blake Alexander, this is a very competitive starting run for them.
A very nice run, 394.5, puts them in a position to really lean on that car tonight. Bob Tasker III could be the big story of the weekend. Wearing the PPG colors, lined up next to the Skag Power Equipment Mustang of Dan Wilkerson. Bob has stated publicly they want the 340 run, they want the number. This afternoon wasn't the time to do it, but it was the time to do this.
Well, for that magic to happen, it starts with the right strategy, with a lot of horsepower, running the car in a very specific manner, and of course you need those forward aerodynamics. They've already run 341 at a non-sanctioned event. They want to do it here under NHRA's banner.
The peak antifreeze and coolant Chevrolet Camaro of the warhorse himself, John Force, closest to us, and J.R. Todd, the DHL GR Supra, across the racetrack, squared up here to run against the clock in qualifying session 1. And much to the delight of a New England fan base that loves this guy, they watched him, for the moment, steal the #1 spot at 390.
Well, look, he loves them. They love him. And John Force, don't look now, but all the conversation about Proc and about Tasca and even Hagen, and John Force is one of the strongest runners this year.
The Auto Club colors for Austin Proc up here this weekend, and Rush Truck Centers for Matt Hagen. This was the final pair of the first round, and this was basically a single.
Yeah, it was a very aggressive launch for Matt Hagen. Too much wheel speed initially. But for Austin Proc, you can see the oiler that's lubricating the supercharger, not necessarily burnt pistons, but for Hagen, they came up very aggressive, and it really didn't pay off. So it may be a little bit of a setback, or they can just completely disregard that. But you can see the instant tire smoke. But for Austin Proc, straight and true.
Dickie Venables was my guest on the NHRA Insider podcast this week. If you're a listener, you heard his conversation that we had. If you're not a listener, understand that he is going to come with the big tune-up in it tonight. 90 and 90. Force and Proc, the teammates, lead the qualified field out of session 1. Then it's Tasca, Alexander, Todd Wilkerson, Green, and Alexis DeJoria, the quick 8. Bruno Massel was able to catch up with John Force after he made that #1 run.
By just a couple thousandths of a second, John Force held off his teammate Austin Proc to hold down that #1 spot. John, what are your thoughts about racing up here in New England?
Oh, I go way back. I'm meeting fans here from Canada, Boston, all over. It's great, but to be out here, you know, to see Auto Club here, that's a big market for them, and I'm excited. Just love seeing that car because of Robert Height. And Proc's doing a great job. But at the end of the day, the Peak Chevrolet, we got a round in there. We're in the show. And Hendrick, I'm still fighting. HendricksCars.com. I'll get this stuff right sooner or later. And Monster and Flavor Pack. So I got a lot of sponsors to take care of, but I got to do my job. My guys have a real good race car, Daniel Hood, and the only guy that lets them down is me. So I got to fix me.
Once again, we went from a thank you interview to a psychological exam, but he is still the #1 qualifier. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, live here from New England Dragway, it will be the NHRA Insider Live. You can watch us live on the Roku channel, Samsung Plus, the Sling Free Stream channel, Tubi, Plex, and others. It is going to be Lyle Barnett, and it is going to be Matt Hagen. 2 big personality guys, 2 big energy guys, and 2 guys racing here this weekend. That is the NHRA Insider Live. Tune in on any of those platforms right here at 10 a.m. Eastern from New England Dragway. You've seen Funny Car highlights, and of course, it's always Funny Cars first on Fridays. Following Funny Car was Top Fuel Eliminator Clay Milliken. Tony Stewart wearing the Renai colors. Milliken is Parts Plus, Jacobs Construction, Arrowhead Car. We talked to Clay in the pits today, and they also have this big idea that they can run a number tonight.
So it's hard to ignore. They just ran 337 miles an hour a couple of races ago, so they, too, have their sights set on that 340-mile-per-hour target.
Parachutes out on both sides of the racetrack. It was a 375 at 332 for Milliken. For Stewart, a 383.1 at 322, which would turn out to be a rather conservative run for the moment. Your Chicago winner wearing the Matco Tools Sirius XM Hank Sturfer's Toyota colors is Antron Brown in red, white, and blue. And across the racetrack from Antron Brown, another very stout competitor. That is Brad Mason, the car chief on that automobile, in the form of Steve Torrance and the Capco Contractors Top Fueler. Oh, Billy rather, across from Antron.
Hard to tell them apart, Brian. They look a lot alike. And Billy Torrance was on his way right alongside of Antron Brown at the 8th mile, started spinning the tires. That just goes to show you where some of these tuners are trying to get aggressive. But Antron Brown, just coming off of that win in Chicago, has the momentum.
The 376.6 is a range that car is very, very consistent in. We'll see what they can do a little bit later on in our show when we're watching them run live. This, of course, is Steve Torrance as Billy made his way down the racetrack. And across the racetrack was the Mac Tools Top Fuel Dragster with Rev Chem Composites and Fifth Third Bank of defending a Top Fuel World Champion, Doug Coletta. And this is what the folks paid their nickels to see. A great side-by-side run down through there. 375 at 331 for Doug Coletta. Placed him number 1 on top of the field to start.
Brian, I think a lot of these teams could run a little bit quicker. I think they could be more aggressive, but I think they're being extra cautious. The worst thing you can do, trying to set the stage for tonight's much better, much cooler conditions. I think they're a little apprehensive and just playing it safe.
The final pair, the Skag Power Equipment, Phillips Connect Mac Tools Top Fueler of Justin Ashley, and the Coletta Air Toyota Rev Chem Composites Top Fueler of Sean Langdon. Of course, they are 1 and 2 in the championship points right now. Langdon a runner-up finish in Chicago. It was a very early shutoff for Justin Ashley. The car picked the front end up and smoked the tires for Sean Langdon at 378 at 330.
Yeah, again, Sean Langdon was the finalist there. He was the driver that got bested. The car fell off in the final. We fully expected for that team to win, but still hovering up there in the top of the points. And you can see left side of your screen, Justin Ashley. It wasn't necessarily overpowering the track. You can see those tires are shaking violently. Unlike the tire smoke, what precedes that is the tire slippage. The tires really growing. It seemed that car was under power, but for Sean Langdon, again, a good, safe, clean run.
Look at that chassis arched up as he heads down the racetrack. Doug Coletta leads the field into qualifying session 2 with Torrance, Milliken Brown. Dan Mercier of Canada comes out and laces the racetrack with the 377. Non-qualifier in Chicago, Brittany Force locks herself in at number 6 right now. Then it's Langdon and Salinas rounding out the quick 8. Doug Coletta was so quick running down the racetrack, even Bruno couldn't catch him. So we send a backup over there. Jordan Vandergriff talked to Doug in the pits.
Doug Coletta with a 375 with a 1 after Q1, and that puts him in number 1. Now, Doug, how does that free you up going into Q2 later tonight?
Yeah, no, it's a great spot. We'll be kind of towards the back of the pack, and the conditions are supposed to be really good tonight, so we're always look forward to the night runs. You know, the fans, with the flames and everything else, and it's a good time to definitely rip one off. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Everybody on this Mac Tools Toyota car, we've had the thing running good, so we just got to go rounds and just hopefully get a good qualifying run in.
When we come back, the live Nitro Header Flames in Epping, New Hampshire will be the show as Ron Capps and his team, Dean Antonelli included, are warming up the Napa GR Supra. When we return, the Header Flames hit the New Hampshire sky here in Epping.
One of the main reasons for poor vehicle performance is a dirty fuel system. It can cause decreased fuel economy and actually do harm to your engine over time. By adding Lucas Fuel Treatment to your vehicle, it cleans and lubricates the entire fuel system. Pump, carburetors, fuel injectors, and valves as you drive. It also improves your vehicle's performance. It's a non-solvent product designed to protect both gasoline and diesel engines. Lucas Fuel Treatment. It works.
Fire Department Coffee is excited to be the official coffee of the National Hot Rod Association for another year. So excited, in fact, we just want to scream, let's go! And that's because the NHRA community, like our own firefighter brothers and sisters, have become another family to us.
And if there's anything we love more than serving our community, is adding to our family.
Plus, the job does come with some pretty cool tools.
Let's go!
Calling. Some people find theirs at an early age, others later in life. Our calling was to build trucks, and that's why trucks are what we do. We put our everything into every truck, so that when you find your calling, nothing can stop you from answering it.
Right now, during the Ram Memorial Day sales event, get $1,000 cash allowance on the purchase of most 2025 Ram 1500 trucks. Hurry to your local Ram dealer today.
It's hard to run a business on your own. Make it easier on yourself. With Shopify, you can have your inventory, payments, and customers in sync across all the places you sell. Start your journey with a free trial today.
Continue on with a look here at our first round of qualifying. Jake Coughlin Jr. left side, Eric Anders right side. Skag Power Equipment, orange colors for Coughlin, a tire-shaking sideways launch. Meanwhile, Erica locked it down, and the Melling Performance Johnson's horsepower garage Camaro shot to the #1 position, 651 at 211. She's the last winner at this place, and they have not forgotten how to get down it.
Yeah, and this kind of performance is absolutely no big surprise. However, it was a little bit of a surprise considering that her 60-foot time wasn't that great, but it just goes to show you that beyond that point of the racetrack, this car had a good amount of horsepower to recover and set that quick time.
Of course, the table was then set for the #1 and 2 cars and the points to be the final pair of the first round. Greg Anderson, the HendrickCars.com Chevrolet, and the Rad Torque System ride of Dallas Glenn. See a little lateral movement here for both cars. Anderson got up near the center line. Greg Anderson went across the finish line at a 6:56, but look at Dallas Glenn, 6:52. He was right behind Erica.
Yeah, that's 0.04 of a second separation, or close to it. And we typically don't see this from Greg Anderson as good as he has been running, but keep in mind the atmospheric conditions are different here. They have to change the gearing. They're going to tune the cars up best they can, and I'm sure things will improve for Greg from here on in.
Eric Anders at that 6:51 led the field, followed by Dallas Glenn. Kenny Delco came out of qualifying session 1 as the #3 qualifier. Splitting the field was McGahey, and on the number 15 spot was Jake Coughlin Jr. We get a peek into these staging lanes here at New England Dragway. Staging lanes that have held some of the greatest names in the history of the sport. Tommy Ivo, Don Prudhomme, every big name that's ever come through this place has rolled up these same lanes that J.R. Todd sits in right now. And they have all lit up the night sky in southern New Hampshire like he's about to do in a couple of minutes. Matt Hagan is the #1 man in the points. He's also going to be the #1 card on the racetrack on Friday night here at New England Dragway, because the last run, as we showed you, was not successful. Stay with us.
Your calling. Some people find theirs at an early age, others later in life. No matter when you find it, consider yourself lucky, because it becomes your everything. Our calling was to build trucks, and that's why trucks are what we do. We put our everything in every truck, so that when you find your calling, nothing can stop you from answering it.
You're watching a Fox Sports presentation. We'll have more right after this.
What's up?
Who are you?
I'm your inner child. Get in. Listen, horsepower keeps you going, but torque gets you going. Oh, now we're torquing.
The Dodge Hornet RT, the totally torqued out crossover.
Looking for what comes next? For that moment when everything finally...
1 minute!
Whichever path you choose, it starts here.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S. Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away. Competition Products, race parts sold by racers since 1970.
Everything starts with a spark. E3 with Diamond Fire technology is an inferno waiting to wake up your engine. A faster flame front for 2 cylinders to 12. Don't just start your engine, ignite it. E3, what are you running?
I know we only just met, but
I can't imagine my life without you.
From real quality that starts in our factory to real performance in your backyard, Steel tools are as tough and dependable as the people who use them. This Father's Day, give him the gift that's built for Dad. Right now, save $20 on the MS-162 gas-powered chainsaw. Real Steel.
I just want to feed this bod wild-caught salmon like it deserves.
Join the club.
Yeah, join the club and save on fresh, sustainably sourced seafood.
I work out a lot, so that's helpful.
Cool. Download the Sam's Club app today. Sam's Club.
We are back live here at New England Dragway for the NHRA New England Nationals. Second round of qualifying action is set to kick off with Nitro Funny Car Fun. Matt Hagan will be part of the first pair, lining up next to Dana Hard's Camco sponsored Nitro Funny Car, driven by Matt Smith. That is Matt Hagan. Inside his hot rod, Matt Hagan is the subject of this week's Revzilla Behind the Visor.
Matt Hagan, driver of the Dodge Direct Connection TSR Funny Car.
They leave the starting line. Wilkerson's looking pretty good here, but Hagan's going to run around him at the finish line.
And never would have dreamed of being able to get in one of these cars and drive them for a living.
Matt Hagan has now collected back-to-back victories on this season.
I got started in the sport. I was 13 years old on a four-wheeler, and I got to bracket race my four-wheeler on a Thursday night. And beginner's luck, I don't know what, but I went to the final and I won $130. And at 13 years old, I was like, I can make money doing this, so I was hooked from then on out.
And he has made a career of it, the likes of which the funny car category has seldom seen. Dickie Venables is crew chief to the right side of the engine of the Rush Truck Center's Dodge SRT Hellcat Red-Eye Charger. Now, all-time wins here in the funny car category, New England Dragway. Matt Hagan is the league leader, with John Force and Ron Capps tied with 2. Bob Tasker III had his most probably unsatisfying victory winning this race, but he had to do it in Bristol, Tennessee last year. So that car on the right side of the racetrack is the Hard Guys. Nitro Funny Car, one of the local cars here at the left side of your screen now. That is John Wall, who is a talented nostalgia Nitro Funny Car racer in his own right. And they are suffering the same problem they had during qualifying session 1. The car would not back up. The car has been shut off. And Matt Hagan will not be delayed. They're going to get Mike Smith out of this car and allow Matt Hagan to proceed down unimpeded. Yeah, and of course they want to get the car pushed back as quickly as they can. Matt Hagan, I'm sure they're going to give him the signal, let him know that he is going to be on a single run. But it is going to be one of the factors. They do not want the Hagan car to run 5 or 10 seconds longer. You burn through 1 gallon. That's 10 pounds off of the front end. It upsets the ballast of these cars. Here's a question for you. With this car being hitting leadoff effectively, how much of a canary in the coal mine does this thing show the rest of the crew chiefs? As good as this car is, if they go out there and hit one square out of the ballpark here, how much does that allow people at the back of the line to lean on their stuff? Well, take my word for it. All the tuners are watching this run right now, whether they're in the left lane or right lane. And I think for Dickie and for this team, I think they disregard what happened in the first run. I don't think this is a session where you just lay up, where you pull the tune-up back and be conservative just to get down the track. Temperature's at 65 degrees. The track temperature is below 90 degrees, so we have all of the elements of putting down a great run. For Matt Hagan and his team, we'll find out exactly what they decide to do as far as their strategic outlook. If they had made a very clean run on this session, perhaps it would have changed their approach. The murmurs and the buzz around Nitro Funny Car Racing circulates around a 340-mile-an-hour run. Will we see it tonight? You never know. Well, that is looking far more favorable than earlier. 391.0 at 322 miles an hour, and he ran right up on Austin Brock's bumper to go number 3. Yeah, good looking run. I'm sure it could have been better had they been successful in their very first qualifying run. But, you know, a lot of that plays into the approach that the tuner's going to take. You can see good acceleration, and it just seems that they allowed the track to come to them. So this is really a good sign for the rest of the teams that they're already running in the very first car down the track. They're already performing as well as any car did in that first session. Beautiful super slow-mo shot of the Pep Boys replay. Let's go to Jordan Vandegrift with Dickie Venables.
Diggy Venables, you were the first car out here in Q2 because of Q1. A 391, are you happy with that, or did you want a little bit more?
Well, I'm not happy with it, but honestly, that's all we were trying to do. You know, we messed up there the first Q1 and didn't go down the track, so, you know, we backed it off, and that's about what I thought it would run, but that's going to be probably at best middle of the pack.
And look, it does allow this guy to go to sleep tonight, right? If they go out there and blow the tires off again, he's going to be staring at the ceiling in a hotel.
Look, these tuners think one way. They want it all. And the good news is, if the forecast is off a little bit, if some of those clouds roll in, could really knock the edge off of the racetrack. It could cool it off. And look, we have those conditions. We have the high barometer, which these cars love. We have the cooler, not a lot of humidity. So, you know, again, depending on what the weather does, we could see a very good qualifying session on Saturday.
Terry Haddock had an eventful excursion down the New England Dragway 1,000-footer earlier this afternoon. He actually tacoed the headers on the left-hand side of that car at about 1,000 feet. Dave Richards, the Versatran Toyota Camry, on the right-hand side of your screen. Haddock's run was disallowed, so it does not even appear on a qualifying sheet, but there was a number we saw come up on Terry's run before everything went awry. At the 330-foot mark, he had the fastest number of the session earlier today.
Yeah, and that was the split time. And you know, that may be one of the reasons that the car was hard to control, because the car was accelerating really good. Take a look on the right side of your screen. And it just made that aggressive move at about the 8th mile. And the drivers sometimes get preoccupied by how the car is accelerating. It's just not something that Terry Haddock is used to. This car was well on its way to running a sub 4-second run.
Yes.
And, you know, you take your focus off of what you should be doing, focusing, driving the car, physically keeping it in the center of the lane. And when it moves out, if you're not ready for it, it'll get you in trouble real quick.
The T&D Express Trucking Company of Walcott, Connecticut. This is as close to home as we come to them, and the Versatran colors, Bluebird turf as well for Dave Richards. The story here for Dave Richards, a little bit of forward progress. They made the second round at Charlotte. That was actually good for them, and they've been able to build a little bit of consistency into this car. Right now, they're trying to build off of what was a tire smoker during the first session. You've seen the video on the internet. Move back, Terry. Move back, Terry. Terry, 395.8, 315 miles an hour for Terry Haddock, and that well may be, and it is, a career best run.
Yeah, and you know, Terry did the right thing. He was so smart approaching this session. The first run was impressive for those conditions. I don't think that they did much to that car. They said, look, this car, we know it was going to make a good run. It got in trouble at the 8th mile. The conditions are going to come to us. The performance was better initially from the starting line to 330 feet. In the middle of the track, it was running just like it did on that first run, only the car was more stable. The car was centered in the track, and Terry Haddock just allowed the conditions to do the rest of the work.
So Terry Haddock with that run is currently qualified number 6, and it's really starting to get interesting here at Epping. When we come back, Terry Haddock will find out where his run lands, and he is going to be very happy when he is informed of this elapsed time. Back in 2021, we had a short field of funny cars. This was the first round. Here is Terry Haddock and Ron Capps. Capps blew it up and set his pants on fire. Meanwhile, Terry Haddock crossed the finish line first and had a bye run into the semifinals. It was his most successful day of NHRA funny car drag racing in a career that has spanned now more than some 300 or 400, maybe even 500 events. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to New England Dragway with Nitro Funny Car on Friday night.
With over 75 million monthly Tubi viewers, more people watch Tubi than visit Old Faithful every year, which means Tubi is more popular than spewing boiling hot water all over the place several times a day. Tubi, it's more popular than Old Faithful.
This June, drop what you're doing for the Summer of Stars. Because we're serving up Copa America and the Euros. Scores! Summer of Stars kicks off on Fox and FS1.
Fellas, summer's coming, so here's the deal. Fabletics, all Fabletics, 70% off. Whoa, that's the deal for Gym to Swim One Short, the best-selling fundamental short, the do-it-all only pant, the swag-tastic one jogger, lined, unlined, and inseam options. All shirts, polos, golf gear, 70% off. All shorts, pants, joggers, 70% off. Simple, summer, Fabletics gets it, so get Fabletics. Right now, get 70% off in-store and online at Fabletics.com.
Speed, power, performance, and top-notch results on the turf and on the track. Skag Power Equipment is mowing down the competition. Built by hard-working Americans in state-of-the-art facilities, Skag machines are made to last. Don't get left behind. Visit your local Skag dealer to discover the Skag difference for yourself. Skag, simply the best.
That moment, it all ties together. Your masterpiece for the world to see. From hard work and repetition, competition and composition, start over, realign, you can face the opposition. No doubt, each lesson has prepared you for here, for now. Take your position, chase your goal.
Let's go!
This is a racetrack that loves to celebrate its history. There are some beautiful cars down there. Duke LeConte's Chaotic, Gasser. This is the 1955 Chevrolet Nomad of Don Roberts, a top fuel racer of note in this region from back in the day. Ed Parker is a legend in this part of the country. The recreation of his old Cape Carter car that is driven and fielded by John Wall, who's also involved in the Hard Guys car. Bill D's Nor'easter, that is Jim Blake's blown, Hemi-powered, short wheelbase altered. And a great display of history here when fans come in to New England Dragway. Now let's go to the top end. Terry Haddock, he's making his own history, 395.8, and he was ecstatic about it. He caught up with Bruno.
This is one of the fun parts about this job. You see an independent guy who goes out there and scrubs the wall and then comes back out here and goes a career best 395. What are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling that we are so blessed by God to be able to come out here and race with the best in the world and be competitive. The 395 is awesome. My guys have been working so hard. We've been picking away at this. This is a tough sport, and this year we've been trying to stay home and there's no sponsors because I want to be a grown-up, for lack of a better word. I really want to race every day, but I don't know how. But we're trying to race when we have funding, and it shows in the performance of the car. When it's funded correctly, it can run good, and we can be competitive with these guys. Thank you to T&D Express, all the people that let us race. There's so many of them. And there's one other thing I'd like to say. Michaela Stark, congratulations on graduating school. Great job.
Graduation's running in the family. Tony, you got one of those coming up too, I believe, don't you?
Yes, Saturday in Bristol.
Yeah. I'm not trying to put an age on you or anything, but you're sending these guys out of the end of high school now. We got stuff going on.
Goes by too fast, Brian. We don't want to talk about that.
So this is the New Englander, driven by Corey Lee. Now that is Mike Klober on the left-hand side of the racetrack. Mike Klober and Clay Milliken, when they raced together, the IHRA owned this place. They came in and just dominated. It's an interesting combination that they brought Mike in. It's a very humble team. They run a small handful of events, and maybe they have a fuel league.
Well, they may have. It's nothing like bringing experience into your program. The technology advances. It evolves so quickly with these nitro cars, and Mike Klober has been up to speed. He keeps his hand on the pulse. Most recently working on Clay Milliken's Top Fuel Dragster. The engine is the same. It's a shorter wheelbase. It's a nitro funny car. Mike Klober has been around them for quite a while.
And this Buddy Hull in the Blaze Exhaust Probes Dodge SRT Hellcat Red Eye Charger, fielded by Jim Dunn Racing. Hull is a guy right now who is outside of the top 10. He has been working hard to try to make something happen in this car, and we'll see what he can put together here. Across the racetrack, you can see Corey Lee in the New Englander. Lee, a journeyman driver. This guy has had his backside in the seat of many a race car over the years.
A lot of nitro cars, a lot of nostalgia, funny cars. He's got plenty of experience.
Nothing doing for Corey Lee, and Buddy Hull is making a trip into the left lane, crossing the center line and running over the timing blocks. Hull goes back into his own lane, but, well, Corey, you don't get credit for a 407.
That 407 belongs to Buddy Hull, and you can see how soon he was off the throttle. Now, Buddy Hull comes into this car with some experience in other types of race cars, short wheelbase, but this is just a lack of control. Now, look, Buddy Hull, he's given it a game effort. This car has had some opportunities to advance out of the first round. he just needs a little more experience, a little more seat time. When it gets dusk, you think it's hard to see out of one of these Nitro Funny cars during the day. It gets worse when the sun is off the racetrack. It's almost like trying to wear a baseball cap at night. It's just difficult to see. The driver cannot see around that injector scoop, and the car just makes an aggressive move to the inside.
Listen, I don't mean to question you, but how do you wear a baseball cap? Because I've thrown my socks hat on at night every once in a while.
Look, where I come from, you have to put a baseball cap on at night sometimes.
So for Buddy Hull, that run will be disallowed, of course, with the center line cross. That will come with its own penalty. As the next pair of cars fire it up, Alexis DeJoria, the Madero Premium Tequila car, across the racetrack. It is the Napa GR Supra of Ron Capps. Now, this keen-eared listeners heard something on Alexis's burnout, the same thing we heard earlier. It's pulling the motor down at the end of the burnout.
Every car is equipped with a throttle stop. The driver, by design, needs to peg the throttle. That doesn't allow the clutch to drag. The tuner wants a lot of fuel in the engine, and she just tends to drag it at the tail end of the burnout.
Jordan Vandergriff caught up with Dean Antonelli, the crew chief for Ron Capps moments ago.
Dean Antonelli, the weather seems to be getting better. The sun has now fallen behind the left-hand bleachers, but I saw you looking at the starting line very intently. What are you concerned about there?
Well, the car in front of us had a fuel leak, so want to make sure it was only fuel. And of course, even though they wipe it up, it gets into the rubber itself, and so it will make it a little bit gooey. So we want to make sure we kind of straddle that.
Look, Ron Capps right now is 7th in the points. They have not had the success they would expect, and perhaps we would expect, out of their race car. For Alexis DeJoria, the performance of the car itself is not really and has not been the deciding factor this year. This thing can and will run as we look inside the Bandero Toyota.
Yeah, we saw similar performance last year. They just seem to do it in spurts. If they can continue to do this, this could easily be a top 5 car.
Alexis up by the center line. She goes 395.6 at a speed of 325.33 miles an hour, which is good enough to move her into the 6th position.
Very good job of car control. The car almost looked like it was going to repeat what Buddy Hull's car does. Alexis, quite a bit more experience. You can see how excited she is, but look at how the car, she's really working the throttle, the steering wheel. There's the launch. It's centered up in the track right now. It almost wants to move to the right a little bit, but you're going to see it start to push to the left. You can see she's doing a little bit of driving, a lot of physical driving, but you can see every track has a different personality, and not quite to the center line like Buddy Hull, but this is what you get when a driver is ahead of the car, when she knows how to respond, how physical to get with the steering wheel. You can see some of the body English here.
You know, to me, those were nice, smooth, deliberate moves. She wasn't in there trying to swat bees. She had a good handle on the race car, maybe half a step ahead of it.
Look, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but keep in mind there's 2,500 pounds of downforce, so what you do with that steering wheel does a lot to the car in terms of steering.
You can see Alexis kind of pumping her fist, and she was as into that run as we were. And I think, I know you're the only guy I know that's actually sat in one of these things. You have to understand, I guess, from a personal level, when you finish a run like that, it probably has a little bit more personal value than one where you didn't have to do much.
Well, look, her adrenaline is flowing right now. It's at a very high level, and she knows that car really didn't want to do what she wanted it to do, and she also knows that she controlled it. She did not allow it to control her.
We talked to Cruz Pedregon in the staging lanes just a few minutes ago, the Snap-on Makers and Fixers Dodge, and he mentioned the fact that the car didn't have 8 cylinders last run, and it didn't have 8 cylinders 3.5 inches into the run. It didn't get out of the staging beams before the number 2 or number 4 cylinder dropped out of function. We'll see if they can keep all 8 lit. For Dan Wilkerson, Dan had what I would argue probably the best race of his season in Chicago. Went deep in the rounds, gained experience, but he doesn't have a lot of experience at night.
Took a very strong car, a driver changed. Now Tim Wilkerson is now tuning the car, so it just seems like because he's able to apply all of that focus on the car seems to be performing better. Now, Dan Wilkerson, of course, he's been making the tuning decisions on the car for the last several years. It's been so long since he had been in a Nitro Funny car, but here he is. He's getting experience, he's getting seat time, allowing himself to get in that rhythm.
Cruz averages a number 8 spot in qualifying this season. Dan Wilkerson averages a number 9 spot. Right now, Dan Wilkerson, He's earned the gentleman's C because he's average. He's currently sitting 9th. Cruz, because of the fact that he only had 7 cylinders and was off early, is sitting 12th.
Well, we've seen the progress that the Snap-on car has made, in particular the most recent race in Chicago. They qualified very well. They made some backup runs. As you get this car to perform the way you want it to, you have to fine-tune a few things. You dial the clutch in. You also have to dial the fuel system. And like he said, once they leave and get this car running on 8 cylinders with the kind of volume they want to deliver, they know it will give them the performance.
And that is a thing of beauty to the finish line stripe. 389.9, 329.91 miles an hour for Dan Wilkerson. It takes the Skag Power Equipment Mustang atop this entire field. A handshake and a smile from Wilkerson and car chief Richard Hardman.
Yeah, the same smile that we used to get from Tim Wilkerson when he was in the seat. He would get out of the car. We saw the same expression on his face. He knows it's a good run. There may be a couple of cars that would challenge that for quick time. But again, look at the difference in the burn rate, the fuel, the color of the header pattern as both these cars accelerate. But for the Snap-on car, you can see it seems like a leaner pattern, but they were in a position that they had to lay up. They wanted to get this car down the racetrack in these conditions. Not real aggressive with the setup, but for this Skag machine, they've been able to plug this number in, and it has seemed to work well for them in these conditions.
For Dan Wilkerson, that is a very good run. Not a career best, but darn tootin' close. Now let's go down to the racetrack.
389 with a 9. Tim Wilkerson just put that tune-up in that car. What did you do, and how did it get down the track?
Well, we had a little better run than that going on first round. Our Mustang, the clutch push air fell off of it, so that just stopped the clutch out there in the middle of the racetrack. So 98's all I got out of it. But so we fixed that. We had to put a cannon in it at the last minute, and they rushed us up here. We got going a little too quick, but you know what? We're very excited about this. Hopefully the summit camera was going on in there, and people could see Dan steering his ass off in there. Thanks a lot, Skag. Thanks a lot, Ford Mustang. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. That ain't going to stick either.
When we come back, we'll see if it will, Tim. It is Nitro Funny Car qualifying on Friday night, and Wilkerson just showed us the way home. But will he stay at home? We'll find out when we come back.
Diamonds form under pressure and time. That's why we make our spark plugs with Diamond Fire technology. Faster flame front, more power, better fuel efficiency. That's performance under pressure. E3, what are you running?
Real-world rideability meets racetrack-level performance. With a bike that can perform anywhere, you're going to want to ride it everywhere. The bar has officially been reset. The Suzuki GSX 8R, the new standard of sport.
What does it mean to be built with Summit? It means turning some rust into rolling artwork. Built with Summit means you're making something that was already fast, even faster. It means that your project will be on the road or track long after you've bolted it together. And Built with Summit means you're doing it with in-stock parts, fast shipping, expert advice, and the best prices. Summit Racing Equipment. Let's build it together. SummitRacing.com.
Sup?
Who are you?
I'm your inner child. Get in. Listen, horsepower keeps you going, but torque gets you going. Oh, now we're torquing.
The Dodge Hornet RT, the totally torqued out crossover.
You know what I want? Grapes that taste like cotton candy.
Yeah, join the club.
And how about a fancy steakhouse ribeye?
Without the fancy steakhouse prices.
Yeah, join the club.
I just want to feed this bod wild-caught salmon like it deserves.
Join the club.
Yeah, join the club and save on fresh, sustainably sourced seafood.
I work out a lot, so that's helpful.
Cool. Download the Sam's Club app to get your fresh ingredients today. Sam's Club.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can it keep me warm when I'm cold?
Wait, no, I'm always hot.
Sleep Number does that.
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Sleep Number does that.
Can it help us sleep better and better?
Please.
Sleep Number does that.
94% of smart sleepers report better sleep. Save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, plus 0% interest for 48 months when you add an adjustable base. Shop now at sleepnumber.com.
We have tons of coverage this weekend from the NHRA New England Nationals, continuing tomorrow night on FS1 at 7 p.m. And then we'll have an 8 p.m. broadcast as well for the Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. Eliminations will be split. 1 p.m. Eastern, you'll tune in on FS1, catch out the first round, and then at 7 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night, you'll come back to watch the entirety of the race to find out who will be leaving with a Wally. And this year, they will be leaving with it on Sunday afternoon after last year's weather-related debacle that moved this race all the way down to Bristol, Tennessee the following week. So, as we now go back to the starting line, it is J.R. Todd and Chad Green. Now, Tony, we're going to talk about something, and I want to know this from the management side of a team. These guys are down 3 men because they couldn't get here due to weather delays.
Well, fortunately, they had enough time, turnaround time, to service car in between qualifying sessions.
J.R. Todd, the DHL Super. That car wanders around the racetrack, and Todd lights up the board with a 386.5 at 327.74 miles an hour. One of the quickest runs he's ever made, perhaps the quickest run since his career best. That was 5 years ago. We love these guys in the heat, but they're not necessarily the bomb droppers in these conditions.
This could be trouble. This could be trouble for the competition. When they perform like this, and when they get it, they seem to be able to get it consecutively. And you can see another driver, another car that wanted to start wandering around, but this is a good driver, great car control, very aggressive in the middle of the track when the car starts to hunt. Just take a look at the car, left side of your screen. It's going straight. It wants to veer right. He's going to pull it back into the center of the track. There it is, making another hard move to the inside, rather to the outside, and then wanting to push to the inside. A good, very good job of driving. And sometimes when these cars accelerate, they had already traveled close to 290 miles per hour. That was just within the first 660 feet. And sometimes you simply have to work for it.
And when you impress Tim Wilkerson, you've done something. I mean, he told us that it wasn't going to stick his run, and it did not. John Oberhofer, who works with Todd Smith on the DHL cars with Jordan Vandergriff.
With the low ET and the driver driving very well, John O., you ran a 386. Now, JR before the run told me you wanted to crack the 80s. How did you make a 386 happen?
Well, we just went back in our notebook, and we made a lot of changes for that run. If people knew what we did to change for that run, they'd probably be, oh, can't do that. So, I'll take your word for it. Ran 86. I'm getting so old I can't even see down there anymore, even with glasses. But I mean, it's a good run. This weekend we're celebrating Scott. We're going to have our party, so come on by, tomorrow night after Q4. So hopefully see how it looks. It looked like he had his hands full, so he'll tell us when we get back.
J.R. Todd earned his paycheck on that one. Did a heck of a job driving, keeping that thing in the lane. And, we talk about it all the time. You always seem to land right in that middle, that 8, 9, 10 spot. This just screwed up everything because now you're sitting in the pole.
Yeah, we overachieved there. But, as soon as I hit the gas, I was probably working the wheel a little too much. I mean, looking on camera, it probably looks like I was driving with my eyes closed, but I'm too stupid to lift. But hats off to Todd and Jono. I mean, to go from a 98 in Q1 to step up to 86 there in Q2, that's a pretty big swing. But DHL boys, they know how to get things done, and that's a big run for us. We've been needing runs like that here recently, and it's nice to show that we can. And we'll see what these guys behind us do. I'm sure there's some low 80s out there that we missed on, but either way, we're going to be in the top half and set ourselves up good for race day.
Tony, I think a night like tonight is ultimately satisfying if you're a fan or somebody who really loves the sport, because we're watching drivers drive tonight. We're seeing people showcase talent tonight. This is not simply stabbing the gas and holding the wheel straight, just like he talked about.
And it's hard to see from if you're sitting in the stands, unless you get the angle, of course, that we provide on the show on TV. If you're standing directly behind, you have a much greater appreciation for how much physical driving in such a short amount of time, and it really gives you a much better perspective on the kind of power that these cars generate.
The PPG colors for Bob Tasker III this weekend, the defending event champion, the man who hails from Cranston, Rhode Island, and the man who ran 341 miles an hour earlier this season at Bradenton Motorsports Park. He has been on record a zillion times now saying that they want it. They will go for it if the opportunity presents itself. Nobody has really come close to hitting that number tonight. Not to say these guys can't.
No, and I think at this stage, I mean, they saw that 386. If they made any changes, in the last second there, they do it in the control box. They do it in the clutch application, or they could change an SD card that changes the profile of the timing. Not likely going to take power away from it, but they can likely made this tune-up and setup more aggressive.
Toronto Auto Service Center, Blake Alexander, head contractors machine. Tasca smokes the tires, and Alexander rips to a 394.6 at just 318 miles an hour. The left-hand side of the engine was consuming itself, it appeared, down there. They'll take that 94 back-to-back runs, but for Bob Tasca III, it's no good.
Look, they made a good run earlier. It's really an all-or-nothing run.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think they're going to have any regrets. You can see the sparklers coming out of the exhaust right there. That is likely the electrode off of the spark plug. The cylinder temperatures already well over 1,400 degrees, closer to 2,000 degrees by the time the car gets to the finish line. You can see Blake Alexander shooting out some sparklers out of those spark plugs. They come out of the exhaust pipe, but you can see Tasca off the throttle early. And for Blake Alexander, maybe looking for more. It looks like a cylinder was out coming down near the finish line. Hard to see at night, but maybe only 7 cylinders, 1 cylinder misfiring as this car approaches the finish line, but they do have a level of consistency.
We watch again here from behind the race cars. Tasca's machine was making pretty good tracks until just about the 330-foot mark. And for Alexander, it's a pair of 394s today. The first one probably more satisfying than this one.
Yeah, you want to be able to capitalize on these cooler conditions. You know, for Tasca, for the PPG machine, they're going to take a look at the data, but very aggressive within 60 feet when the car was locked down, when it had traction. And just as they try to accelerate the car in that bearing, the cannon that one of the tuners mentioned earlier, that is a mechanism that is located between the bell housing and between the reverser that moves and tells the clutch when to engage, when to start clamping and applying power.
Left-hand side of your screen, that is Austin Prock, the Auto Club colors this weekend, and the opposite side of the racetrack, John Force in the Peak Performance colors, antifreeze and coolant Chevrolet Camaro. Now, Tony, you've used the analogy before. I'm going to use it again here. When you go to the zoo, they put the birds and the little furry stuff at the front, and then you go all the way to the back for the man-eaters. And we got a couple of man-eaters on the starting line right now.
You want to see the lions, you want to see the tigers, you want to see the man-eaters, and that's why we see some of the best cars, some of the more capable cars towards the back of the session. And these, of course, are two of the biggest in terms of performance. And John Force, like Austin Prock, I mean, they were within thousandths of a second in that first qualifying run. So really look for big runs. I mean, we expect it from Austin Prock, but John Force has not been shy. The addition of Chris Cunningham to this team seems like it has made the car a little more consistent.
And what makes this so incredible performance-wise is neither of these two cars are tuned on the same wavelength. Daniel Hood has his own program, and the Prock team has their own.
Yeah, we asked him that earlier, and John said they just do their own thing.
Roaring into the New Hampshire night at the finish line stripe. It is a 383.7 and 336.23 miles an hour for Austin Prock. 386.5 at 333 miles an hour for John Force. They have been kicked down to the number 2 and 3 position, but it is the young man and the elder gentleman now that go back to 1 and 2.
Look, I mean, if you've heard of baseball, you've probably heard of this guy named Babe Ruth. Didn't he call his shot?
He did.
I mean, that's essentially what this Auto Club team did. I mean, Austin Prock, who just drives a car, but he's going to communicate with his dad, with his brother. That's the assistant crew chief on this car. They called an 82. They were 100th of a second off. More aggressive than John Force. John Force not far behind, but take a look at this run. These are two team cars, two Chevy Camaros, same aerodynamics, and almost identical, but 300ths of a second, and it starts within the first 60 feet, slightly better near side of your screen. By the time they get to the 8th mile, there's 330 feet. They're approaching the 660-foot mark right there. One is speed, one is elapsed time. They were locked together, but Austin Prock in almost every increment of this 1,000-foot racetrack was slightly quicker.
For Austin Prock, he was within about 100th and within about a half a mile an hour of the track records, which are held by the guy he replaced in that car this season, Robert Height. They still stand as John Force slides down the side of the Peak Performance Chevrolet Camaro. We get a look now at our qualifying order. After 2 sessions, Austin Prock, that steamroller, 383.7. Then it is Force, Todd Wilkerson, Hagan, Tasca, Alexander, and DeJoria making up the top half of the field. Following them, it is Haddock, Pedregon, Green, Richards, Caps, Hull, and Lee. And remember, Mike Smith is here, but the car has not been able to make a run yet. He would be, and perhaps will be tomorrow, the 16th car in the qualifying order. Another beautiful look, a long look down this historic drag strip as the 2 Nitro Funny cars pulverize the night. When we come back, it'll be time for Top Fuel.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue DEF and Blue DEF Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
Some have a drive to seek the outer limits, to ride the edge, testing themselves against the odds and the competition. To put life on the line, to go 330 miles per hour while pushing 11,000 horsepower for more. Some may call them rebels. We call them NHRA drag racers. Get your tickets to the fastest motorsport in the world today. Meet us at Bristol June 7th through 9th, Richmond June 21st through 23rd, and Norwalk June 27th through 30th. Buy your tickets early at NHRA.com.
Your calling. Some people find theirs at an early age, others later in life. No matter when you find it, consider yourself lucky, because it becomes your everything. Our calling was to build trucks, and that's why trucks are what we do. We put our everything in every truck, so that when you find your calling, nothing can stop you from answering it.
We are back here. That is Smack Smith and the Anthill Gang Top Fuel Dragster in front of the unique and cozy timing tower here at New England Dragway, a place that I spent many, many weekend and Friday nights. It was a little slower on test and tune nights up here, Tony. I can tell you that back in the day. So they're firing Top Fuel cars. We saw Alexis DeJoria pumping her fist and giving us the high sign in the race car after her run. We actually talked to her, and she was still fired up.
So Alexis DeJoria and I just breaking down that run she had. You know, Alexis, we got to saw you work that wheel inside there with the in-car camera for our show. What's that like to manipulate one of these cars going 395?
I mean, that's the reason why I do this, is because they are wily. They're hard to control. These cars don't want to go straight. So you're doing everything in your power to make sure it goes straight. You're doing a lot of work in there in the funny cars. So it's fun. We ran a 95. It's a good run, good solid run. Just progressing, so we were trying to throw a little bit more into it, but at least it made it down. Tomorrow's going to be hotter, so yeah, we'll just work off tomorrow. But 2 good runs out here. I'm so excited. The weather's been amazing. We're going to get this race done.
And there's Alexis handling her business inside the cockpit of the Bandero Premium Tequila GR Supra, courtesy of the Bandero Premium Tequila in-the-car camera. So Smack Smith, a former FIA champion back in the day, came over here, and we have not seen him on the racetrack in a couple of years, but he's got the Blendtec Fine Ingredient sponsorship on the front wing of the car, and it's the Anthill Mob Leverage Racing Fueler this weekend.
I'm hoping somebody grabs that Snoopy off the front, because that's actually the fuel vent. You want to allow air to go in there, so I'm pretty sure that someone will remove that. But, you know, Smacks is quite a character. I mean, you would fully expect him to come out for a Quiet Riot concert with a guitar, but he's going to try to do his business on the racetrack, and this car has actually made some decent runs in the past.
Well, that was trying to be one of them, except it turned into a sailing ship by the time he got to the 8th mile.
Yeah, and when a car loses power that early in the run, it preceded by the rather followed up with the parachutes coming out. Most of the time it's some electrical glitch. Yeah. The auto shutoff system really shuts the car off. Now, whether it's shook or not is what we're going to take a look at in this replay.
So what you're going to see in the replay is the engine is still turning as the car is rolling down the racetrack. There's still fuel in the cylinders. You can see it kind of throwing the header flames out as it's basically at an idle. And sometimes the fire comes out in different directions, like that one. They got some work to do tonight. But when we come back, Tony Stewart will be doing some work behind the wheel of their 9 tankless water heaters Top Fueler. Smack Smith will get escorted off the racetrack, and Tony Stewart's going to try to blaze here at Epping. You're watching the NHRA on FS1.
Americans turn to RVing in record numbers as they pursue the spirit of freedom and travel exploration.
Life is more than what we've been told it's supposed to be.
The RV community is stronger than ever as family and friends seek quality time together.
To be free, this American dream.
Camping World has been a part of the American dream since 1966. Shop over 6,000 RVs for less than $200 a month, only at Camping World.
We've come a long way together. From dirt tracks to super speedways and every track in between. Never backing down, pushing boundaries, and giving it everything we've got. Yeah, we've come a long way, but there's still a lot more road to run. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR.
I just want to feed this bod wild-caught salmon like it deserves.
Join the club.
Yeah, join the club and save on fresh, sustainably sourced seafood.
I work out a lot, so that's helpful.
Cool. Download the Sam's Club app today. Sam's Club.
The bike riders.
You can't have those colors on in here.
You'd have to kill me to get this jacket off. I don't want any trouble here. Then I'll let you lead. What about the bar?